On today's episode, SpaceX rocket catches a UFO, the International Space Station is open for business, and Elon talks sales and truck details in Tesla's annual shareholder meeting. Let's get ludicrous. Hi, and welcome to Our Ludicrous Future. This is the podcast where we talk about all of the crazy, future, awesome, cool things that are happening today that are going to make our tomorrow totally ludicrous. I am Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, and with me is Ben Solons.
What's up, guys? It's Ben Solons from Teslanomics. We are again without Mr. Scott.
We're without Joe. We're Joe-less.
Joe-less.
He is enjoying a great vacation now, though. It looks like he went from 0 on the scale of fun, vacation, and stress to he is doing great now.
He's on a boat.
He's not literally on a boat right now, somewhere really fancy looking.
Yeah.
Good for him. Really good for him.
Yeah.
So I kind of trolled you guys at the beginning with obviously SpaceX rocket catches a UFO. That's just pure cabbage. Obviously.
What do you mean catches a UFO? What does that even mean? Like Mr. Steven?
Yeah. Yeah, it got caught up in the grid fins and tried to get out with its little lasers or whatever. No, so yesterday SpaceX launched their last, by the way, this was the last California launch of the year already. They only had 2.
Wait, I thought that happened a week ago. Oh no, it got pushed back, I guess? Or there was another
it happened. One. We talked about it last week as coming up in the next week, and now it's the next week, and it just happened yesterday.
When you get old, your brain doesn't work anymore. That's what's going on here.
Time is irrelevant. So yeah, they launched yesterday the RadarSat constellation for the Canadian Space Agency. It was a $1.2 billion trio of satellites, Earth observation satellites. A really cool mission. It started off completely in the fog. You couldn't see anything. It was literally like just a giant gray blanket covering all of Vandenberg, and it cleared that blanket within like the first 5 seconds of flight. It was really cool. It actually just popped its head out. And then, everything went on perfect. Stage separation. The booster landed completely blindly, which is really cool to see.
Like it couldn't see the ground at all.
Not at all. Flew right through the cloud layer, the marine layer.
Welcome to California summers.
Seriously, well, I think we kind of touched on this last week, but Vandenberg is very intentionally there it is very foggy because of you can hide a lot of your top secret stuff there. So, and it's on the West Coast where you can lob missiles over to naughty people, I guess, in the 70s Hawaii. Or whatever, 60s. Yeah, at Hawaii for having too much poi. But so it was funny. I live stream these rocket launches and explain things going on that are happening in real time. And yesterday, oh gosh, I had so many people like constantly, Tim, what was that at 404? Tim, what was that at 404? Tim, what was that? Like, stop! There was something at 404. What was it? And this is what it was. I hope you can see this. I'm gonna mute this just so we don't have. You ready for this?
Let's see it.
So 4 minutes, 401. 402, 403, that right there.
UFO. I see it.
So people like made me stop what I was doing to check that out. It's just like, guys, first off, okay.
That seems like let's can we play it out like if that was a UFO? It seems like that would be very, very small.
It'd be
basketball size.
Depends on how far away it is, of course. Of
right,
course.
But we should know that, right? Doesn't it show altitude somewhere? Oh,
yeah,
altitude
but we don't know how far away this object really is from the camera, right? I mean, perspective plays a big role in the size of something. So, this thing could be 40 kilometers away. It could be a huge blinking UFO, But of course, guys, this was easily identifiable as a piece of ice. Yep. Mm-hmm. I mean, people forget that when these rockets take off, they are under the skin of the rocket is like minus 200 degrees Celsius. Really, really, really cold. It's specifically where the liquid oxygen tank is, not where the RP1 tank is. That's only about maybe just around 0, a little above 0 degrees Celsius. But the rest, like where the oxygen tank is, it's minus 200 degrees Celsius.
That
That's
sounds cold. Yeah. I mean, I don't do
really,
Celsius, but that sounds like a lot.
it's even colder than that in Fahrenheit. I think it's like many 100 degrees minus or whatever. It's a couple, I guess. It's very, very, very cold.
How cold can a thing get? Like, is there a...
Well, 0 Kelvin, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to totally bonk it, but I think it's like minus 500 Celsius or something. Totally just, some people are screaming at me right now. They're probably saying something really pedantic, like you can't actually have absolute zero measured in Celsius because it's a unit of lack of temp. I don't know. Some like
so, okay,
crazy
where would the
physics
ice
thing that I don't
have come
understand.
from, though? I mean, because you have this is methalox. Is that the fuel?
Nope. This is RP1. So this is
okay.
This is Carolox.
Okay. So you have that. So is there like condensation buildup, like my water bottle on the outside, and that freezes? Like, where would the actual...
Exactly.
'cause a piece of ice is liquid, right? So where would that come from?
Well, when it's ice, it's become a solid. It's water that has obviously frozen and become solid, changed its state of matter.
Right. But you can't have ice without some form of liquid to start, right? So is it...
and exactly,
did it catch...
and it comes from the condensation in the air. So while it's sitting on the launch pad, there's literally a whole blanket of ice down this section of tank.
Got it.
And that ice stays pretty well with it throughout the majority of the flight, and a lot of it will kind of melt off and be gone by the time it lands. But still, I mean, little pieces of ice are breaking off constantly. And what people need to remember is when the booster is not firing, it is experiencing zero gravity. So things that would fall off would just sort of float away gently.
Right.
You know, the only time that anything will move relative to the booster. You know, so if something falls off, it might have been like from a thruster firing a little, RCS gas thruster, or it might have been from the movement of, say, the grid fins or something moving around. It could, dislodge a little piece of ice. That little piece of ice will just float off. And the only thing that's going to change, anything's orientation in the space, everything's going to stick together basically because they're all moving at the same speed. They're all flying together now, right? And the only thing that's going to kind of move that around is if the booster starts kind of doing orientation turns and stuff with its thruster pods. Then you'll start to see the change of what that looks like. It's just a friendly reminder though that if people need to remember how they just think something goes to space, and that's where UFOs would be.
Can we just talk about that? Like, there's something absurd about thinking like that's how we would make contact or something.
Right. It'd be the same as if you're in a jetliner. Like, people need to remember the odds of just you flying up in the sky and looking out your window and being like, there it is right there, boop, and it flew by. Like, you're just a tiny speck of a thing. Just because you're up higher doesn't mean you all of a sudden, I don't know. I don't quite get... I don't get why people just think you're in space and things that go by. Like, if you see something in space, guaranteed, I promise you, that thing came from the rocket.
Yeah.
Because if, say, another satellite were to fly by, it would go by so fast, and the distances are so great that you won't see it. It will not show up on a camera because it's way too... These are really wide-angle lenses. These are basically almost GoPro-style cameras. And imagine seeing something that's maybe dishwasher sized, that's, at minimum probably like 30 kilometers away, going 10 times faster than a bullet.
Yeah, I was going to say, how far away, like in airspace, like on Earth, when planes fly, they have altitude gaps between them. And I think it used to be 2,000 feet. Now it's 1,000 feet because we have more planes or something. Do we have any, I know space junk is like a thing and people monitor it or whatever, but is there any kind of like, okay, hey, Starlink, you're going to have 10,000 satellites or something. Like, you guys need to orbit in this distance because then, like, you're totally free and clear at that, like, that kind of like that specific orbit range or whatever? Right.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean... they take into consideration, when satellites... Here, the easiest way to think about this is it's almost impossible to hit a satellite. Like, so putting something in space is really hard. Like, imagine getting something into space. Hitting something else in space is almost like, imagine shooting 2 bullets, right? Only you had to shoot them from 10 minutes apart, and have them link up in the air after accelerating for 10 minutes, basically, right? Like, how hard is that? That's really, 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 really hard.
Unless you're India.
Unless you're, well, and we've demonstrated that. It's a big show of force. Like, that's a huge technical prowess to be able to shoot down a satellite. Like, that is shooting a bullet with another bullet is what it is. I mean, obviously bigger vehicles, but that is extremely, extremely difficult to do. Just basically the distances, the scale of this stuff, and the speed and velocity at which all the stuff is traveling is just, it's so, I guess that's the thing. Maybe we can't grasp it very well. You see something on the screen flying by and you just think like, oh, that's just normal.
I think people just like to have fun too. They have to be like, oh, look at that. Like, they see something. Like, I can't tell you how many things I get for Tesla stuff. Like, the Model Y unveiling. Like, oh, did you look inside here at the Model Y? I'm like, no, who cares?
Did you pull the seat up, turn it upside down, read the lettering?
Yeah.
It's going to spell out Illuminati.
In the Model Y, did they, underneath the trunk, on the ceiling inside of the trunk, add Alcantara or not? Like, who gives a crap? Like, what? Are you, like, sitting in your trunk rubbing that for some reason?
Right.
Like,
is this what matters?
But, hey, I mean, that's part of the fun of it, though, is geeking out. And I think people want to be special, and they want to find something. So
of course.
Any little thing that they can think, like, they saw, like, a new bit of information. I understand the desire. I mean, that's...
The problem is that Elon's companies do that. They almost like breed and foster this idea because they do hide things, and they do have Easter eggs, and they do like reward people that find this random junk that they thought of out of nowhere. So I get why people are very into this.
Yeah.
But UFOs flying by the first stage booster of a rocket is not one of them.
Now, if you were like, what was that? Was it a piece of the rocket that wasn't supposed to go off? That would sounds like a more reasonable guess, right?
Yes. And someone goes, oh, what was it the other day? They go, oh, I don't know, remember. It was a YouTube comment. It was really funny. Someone claimed they had identified it as a UFO. And I go, well, if you just identified it, my friend, then it's not a UFO.
No longer formerly known as unidentified.
I should also point out, too, that people when we were live streaming this were confusing that maybe it could have been the fairing flying by. Because they do have that protective fairing on the upper stage.
Is that it right there too on the right camera?
So here, let's show what that's like. Okay, so let's just replay this. So this is the second stage igniting, and notice that it actually pummels the first stage. Yeah. Look at how far apart the first and second stage get. And now the first stage is doing a burn too right now, basically. That's going to accelerate it away from the second stage. So they're flying apart right now.
So that little tiny speck is the first stage.
That little tiny speck that you see now is I think the smoke trail. But now they release the fairings, and the first stage is still flying away from the second stage. So there's no way at all that those two things will ever cross paths again. There goes the fairings.
Yeah.
And you already cannot see the first stage, which is still accelerating, which you can tell by the cables here. You'll be able to tell when it's done doing its boost back burn, because that will stop doing that oscillation. It'll just start floating.
That little, there
we go.
Smack that it gave it when it separated. Isn't that what destroyed a few of the first attempts?
The what? Sorry.
When they separated there, and you said it gave it a little, smack on the face or whatever, like a little blast to it. Isn't that what destroyed some of the first SpaceX attempts? Like the second stage couldn't. It blew up the first stage or something like that?
Close. The flight number 3, they had everything going perfect. They had just slightly upgraded the first stage's engine because they used to only have one engine. And what they didn't realize when they upgraded the engine is when it was turned off, it still had a little tiny bit of residual thrust that wasn't picked up on the test stand. But in the vacuum of space, it was still a healthy little amount of just a tiny little push. So the two stages separated, but the first stage was still just kind of pushing a little bit, and it actually ran into the second stage.
Yeah, okay, that's what
and tripped the second stage up. And because it tripped the second stage up, the second stage was unable to continue on to orbit. But yeah, so just to look at this again, there's 30 seconds basically of these two vehicles moving at like 3 Gs apart from each other. So there's just no way But isn't that cool? Have you ever noticed that you can tell when they start firing the engines? Look at these wires here. For those of you listening, there's basically some wires in the interstage. You can tell when they light the engines because those wires get pinned down like that.
And the camera's inside of the fairing, or
this is the interstage.
Booster. Yeah.
Yep. So this is the top part of the top part of the booster. You can tell like the wires. It's kind of oscillating a little bit, but just like if a wire was dangling, in gravity, it's the same thing. And then you can tell when it stops firing because all of a sudden those wires will kind of like all just start wacky wheeling. Yeah, they'll just sort of be a lot looser looking. And so you can tell it's still accelerating. It's just hard to appreciate the fact that it's like it's going really fast right now.
Is it going the direction we're looking?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
At first, it's canceling out. There we go. It stopped burning right about, I think right there. Yeah.
So all the wires.
All of a sudden, stuff just starts floating. So yeah, it was trying to, it canceled out its horizontal velocity first. So it's kind of like going backwards, but like burning rubber sort of, like.
Yeah.
Putting on the brakes and then kind of slingshotting back almost,
So something too that I think I have right, but people don't. I think so. These grid fins are on the top of the rocket, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah, I think people think they're on the bottom.
No, because they're on. Well, they're kind of in the middle of the rocket, really.
Right. But I mean, people like that haven't seen one in person or anything.
Yeah, I mean, it is hard. This perspective is really hard to see.
Yeah.
What we're seeing on camera is you're at the very top of the booster with the camera. You're looking down the booster.
Right.
You don't realize that there's 45 meters length of booster there, and these grid fins are only probably 5 meters from you or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
They're well. The funny thing is they're at the top, but really it's when it's falling back to space, it falls backwards.
Mm-hmm.
It comes back down bottom first. Which is just kind of cool.
Yeah, I always thought that was something. I mean, maybe I'm just a bit dull, but it was the thing that until I saw one in person, I'm like, oh, the grid fins are not where the landing legs are, right?
Right,
because that's where
yes,
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that was years ago when I first went up to Hawthorne, but yeah,
to Hawthorne, yeah. So no, it was very identifiable as a piece of ice and not a fairing either, and yeah, there you go. Still a great launch, though. It's sad that it's the last California launch of the year.
Yeah.
Only got 2 this year. Hopefully they get more.
Sometime soon.
I'll keep going with, we had some big news come out of NASA this week.
Really?
And yes, and that is that the ISS is actually opening its doors for private missions. And I'm going to be totally honest. I actually haven't had a ton of time to really dive into this, but this is a little confusing to me because the ISS, there's been private astronauts that have visited the ISS.
Oh, right.
Private citizens that have already done this. So to be perfectly honest, if you guys know the exact,
it's just a marketing thing.
No, I think that's what it is. Though, is they're almost allowing for people to be sponsored. Now an athlete could go with Nike.
Oh my God. Yeah,
or artists, might start having musicians go up there with a single, camera person, and do a music video on the International Space Station now.
Lindsey Sterling violin scene, check.
Yes, I know, but
that's like The Rock. Do you remember he was in outer space? Was an Apple commercial, and he was like, "Hey Siri, take a picture," and he was like holding it up in a spacesuit.
I do not remember that.
Yeah, it was a funny, and I remember Marquez did a thing that was like, was all that stuff real that he said? Like, does Siri actually do those things? And no, Siri does not do those things.
So all of it was fake. The entire commercial is just super off.
Yeah. Well, it was like, hey Siri, take a picture, and he's like in a spacesuit in space. Like Siri's not going to hear you. when you're inside a spacesuit.
Yes. Right? Oh God, that's so true.
Unless you got your AirPods in.
Unless maybe you're Bluetooth though to Siri. Maybe Bluetooth. Your spacesuit has Bluetooth for Siri. So don't worry.
Is this what Simone Giersch talked about? She was like, "I'm saving all my money now so I can go, and I still have 45 years of saving before I can actually afford it."
Something like that. I think so. And so, I mean, from what I understand, I kind of watched the press conference. I didn't pay as close of attention as that. When I wanted to actually learn something, I am one of those people. I actually have to sit and be all in. But I think that the whole thing is that it's kind of been this weird gray area. because you have a government funded place of work, where it'd be like shooting a commercial, in the Pentagon or something, right?
Yeah.
Like this is government funded and international partners, this is what the International Space Station is. And it has a lot of work going on. There's a lot of people up there doing important things. And there's been temptations and private, like for once, I remember one time, I think Pepsi and I think Coke at one time did make like machines or something that allowed them to have Pepsi and Coke on a space shuttle mission once or something like that.
Whoa.
So they've done little things like that have just been kind of riding this gray area. And what I think they did now is they basically outlined it and said, here you go, these are the types of things that are okay, and made it easier, really.
So,
I mean, by defining it, made it so like, yeah, sure, you can use this for your commercial products. And for dedicated flights, Bigelow, for instance, who make
satellites, right?
They make habitats, basically. And Robert Bigelow is a hotel entrepreneur. They've already purchased 4 flights with SpaceX, or significant deposits for 4 flights, dedicated flights for tourists to the International Space Station.
But the ISS is kind of gross, right?
Yeah, the ISS is kind of gross.
I don't think I want to go.
but
I'll go to space, but I'm good. I don't need to go in that stinky
dirty
mess. Yeah. Are they gonna set up a cleaning crew before?
Well, something that could easily happen now is they might start. Bigelow, for instance, has this big habitat that they could dock to the International Space Station and then allow, so it could be on station. That could potentially be like crew quarters for tourists. Mm-hmm. I need to learn more about this. The truth of the matter is I don't exactly know what all this is. But it's cool. Okay, so this just kind of brings up the whole. It is cool to see that that NASA is really, really trying to open up a little more. Working with commercial partners, working in the commercial space. A lot of this, I think. So again, trying to avoid politics, but I think this is part of the. The Republicans always want things to be private industry, and in this case, in my opinion, this is fantastic. This is great. And Jim Bridenstine, who's the NASA administrator, has been a big push in that direction of, hey, let's commercialize this stuff. Let's develop economies in space. And I had my doubts about Bridenstine when he came on, because he was a climate. He didn't trust in climate change models and things like that.
Yeah.
And he has done a phenomenal job, though.
Nice.
And he's been listening.
How do you not believe in climate change as NASA?
Well, yeah.
It seems kind of ridiculous. Go up there. See it.
Or more importantly, I met with, I was with Dr. Michelle Thaler at Glenn Research Center once, or I don't remember. No, maybe not Glenn. I don't remember where it was. The one in anyway. And she was showing me they are working on this, it's a LiDAR system that's measuring the actual treetops around the entire world, basically, to measure the exact height of every single tree, basically, throughout the world. Measuring all these things that we can't even begin to understand. They're doing unbelievable things. And she's sitting here going, and here's the scary part is 30 years ago, we identified the ozone layer. And we told everyone, hey, guys, we need to be aware of this hole in the ozone. And if this happens, we'll all be dead, by 2020, basically. And the world listened and took massive action. And we changed a lot of policy. And we're fine. And she's going, the scary thing is this time we're doing that same thing, ringing those same alarms, and no one's listening. And it's just getting more and more dire. And because they have the data. That's the thing. Data. And I think he is now listening. Bridenstine's listening.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, man. Yeah, I always think about that too, like when, there was a worldwide ban on the CFCs or whatever it was that were causing that. And what was it, 30, 40 years ago, we weren't really around or cognizant of it, but
right.
Just reading about it, it's like, oh yeah, hey, here's this massive problem that affects everybody on the planet, and the entire planet's like, cool, got you. We'll stop doing that.
Mm-hmm.
How that seems insane. That seems impossible in today's world.
Yep. There would have been misinformation campaigns left and right now to be like, no. The CFCs are good, actually. You should probably breathe in, or whatever.
Big CFC. Yeah. Speaking of, was that it for space stuff?
That's it for space, man.
So speaking of misinformation campaigns,
good segue.
Elon had the Tesla shareholders meeting. You see my screen okay here?
Yeah.
Or the annual shareholders meeting just happened a couple days ago for Tesla. This is where they invite people that are shareholders to come up to, I think it's in Fremont or in San Francisco, and they go have official business. There's voting for members. A couple members step down, whatever. Boring part of the meeting. No one cares. Then Elon comes up, gives a presentation, usually joined by a couple other Tesla folks. In this case, he was joined by J.B. Straubel, one of the co-founders. Or I don't think he's technically a co-founder, but basically
really early on.
I mean, it was like Elon and JB. JB was the one that convinced Elon that electric cars could be a real thing and we should do it. And Elon was like, "Cool, I got all this money. Let's make it happen." But I'm almost broke because I just started this space company also. So let's whatever. Anyways, so joined by a couple other folks. They talk about some stuff, and then they take Q&A. Two forms of Q&A here. One is there's a platform called Say. I think it's just SAY. I'm not sure what the URL is, but investors. I love this. It's like the Reddit, Reddit AMA structure, but people vote with the shares they own. So if you own 100 shares, you get to vote with your 100 shares, and so people ask questions, and then you can see this question was representative of 30,000 shares of Tesla or something like that.
Right.
So.
Right.
That's really cool. And then it's open to actual audience questions in the room, which is generally a disaster because you don't have that same kind of filter. This is why, anyways, I could go off on that format forever. But
I'm glad they prioritized the people with the say vote over the people in the room, which was good.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I'll go back. I'll tell you the story sometime about when I was at a thing with Neil deGrasse Tyson. I was so pumped to hear some stuff, and somebody went on this 5-minute long question that zero people cared about, right? And his answer was "Oh yeah, don't do that" or something. You're like, "Oh, that's all the time we got." I'm gonna hit that person. Anyways, so during the presentation, Elon talked about some stuff. Speaking of the misinformation, the key thing was about vehicle demand. So in Q1 of 2019. The Tesla delivered substantially fewer cars than they did in Q4 of 2018, which honestly is not how you typically look at things. But the media wanting to get more clicks and views, or potentially, hurt Tesla's stock for financial gain. We don't know the details of why they would focus on why they would analyze every other company one way and then analyze Tesla a different way that makes them look bad. They focus on the drop from Q4 to Q1. And that led to the investors getting really spooked about this idea of demand, of basically that customers don't want the cars. So Elon had a big presentation and talked a lot about this. So Q2 that we're in now, it looks like it's going to shape up to be a record quarter for Tesla. He did say that verbally, and there was already that leaked email. So that leaked email from before is essentially confirmed now by what he said publicly. The Model S, X, and 3 the orders are outpacing production. So that means that they cannot make the vehicles fast enough, which is tremendous news, meaning that there is still plenty of demand.
Right.
And of those orders, 90% of those orders are from new customers, non-reservation holders. So if you recall, the Model 3, when it first got unveiled, got something like 400,000 or 500,000 reservations, like in a week or something crazy. And they've been, delivering on a lot of those over the past year or so. But there's still a bunch of them out there because, you have right-hand drive countries, which they finally opened up orders for. You also have Asia and Europe, which they also recently just opened up orders for. So, 500,000, let's say, worldwide reservations. And, they delivered a ton of them in the United States or in North America. Then there was still the rest of the world. So, there's that. So, but now they're seeing that 90% of the new orders are coming from non-reservation holders, which is amazing because you're reaching a whole new demographic. It's like when you look in your YouTube stats, you see that 90% of your views are coming from non-subscribers. It means you're reaching new people, which is great because those people are going to buy cars, then they're going to tell other people. It's like the network effect, right? Metcalfe's law and all that. So demand versus supply. They cannot make the cars fast enough. Big focus on kind of dispelling that rumor, that myth, that whatever you want to call it from the media. Now, he followed on with talking about where the trade-ins were coming from. And are you seeing the chart here, Tim?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, and kudos to Tesla for not using a pie chart here, which was probably the people's first choice, which is never a good choice. And I can talk about that for hours if you want. So trade-ins that people are bringing to Tesla when they get their first car, and assumingly majority of these are Model 3s. 63% of them are non-premium vehicles, which has a global market of tens of millions of cars. What that means is that the buyer profile, like when you design a product, you really, common way it's done now is you really try to focus on this persona, this avatar, like who is the person, like not just in abstract, everybody that drives a car, because not every product works out. You have to really focus in, like, is it a man? Is it a woman? Do they have kids? What kind of cell phone do they have? Where do they work? Like, where do they live? Like every little detail to really hone that in, so you can have things like, the certain type of cell phone charger in the car or something like that. So
right.
So this buyer profile previously reported was not what we're seeing from this data. This data is showing that 63% of the people trading in their cars did not fit the BMW or Mercedes or Audi or Jaguar or whatever owner. These are people trading in Hondas and in Toyotas, your sort of regular economy cars, non-premium vehicles. 12% of the trade-ins were mid-sized premium sedans, which has a market of 1.7 million cars globally, and 25% were other premium vehicles. Maybe a good chunk of them were also Teslas, which has a global market of around 6.8 million cars. So the Model 3 market potential is way bigger than they originally stated. So I thought this was really interesting.
I mean, that's a sentiment that I hear from a lot of people is I can't, maybe right now I can't afford a Tesla or whatever, but I don't even want anything else. I'll just hold on to my car and save up for 2 more years or whatever. And I honestly, I know of many people with that attitude, and they're going to be trading in an 8-year-old Corolla or whatever,
Right.
Because they held off on getting, for 2 or 3 years, paying for a more expensive like Camry or whatever they would have normally done as an upgrade.
Yeah.
They're holding off, and then they're going to just be trading in their, a entry level car, and then going up to a Tesla, which is, I don't think a lot of people saw that coming.
Right, and if you look at Tesla Model 3 right now, I'm just pulling it up on the webpage here. Maybe if I can do it. The lease for the base model, where can I go to it, is $399 it should be.
I know, that's insane.
$399 a month. So you are squarely in the BMW, the very low-end BMW Mercedes category. And you
or
are...
a nice Accord, a nice Camry, those get up there.
Exactly. Yeah. I had, so prior to, 5 cars ago, but prior to owning Teslas, let's say, my car right before that was a 99 Tacoma. Still have it, still love it. Prior to that, I was driving 30 to 40 miles each way to an office to go to work. And I had a Honda Accord, the 2-door one. And I think out the door, it was like $33,000. I leased it. And my payment was in the $300 range. So, when you see a $399 payment per month, that hits that budget for a lot of people. I mean, and I know a lot of people don't like to own cars. So I think this, dude, like it is. I have so many people hitting me up now that I would have never thought that they would want. They would want, but they never could afford it.
Right.
So demand. And what people are doing, to me, it signals a paradigm shift. We're moving away from, look, I drive 30, 40 miles each way. I don't care. I just need a car that's reliable and cheap. 2, I have new expectations for what a car can be. Transportation doesn't have to suck. Cars don't have to be stuck in the 90s. right? I don't have to have a DVD that I pay $2,000 for to load maps on, on navigation, crap like that, right? So, and also, so it just sets a whole new expectation, right? Fart mode, right? Things like that. I definitely am going to include fart mode.
One of the big differences is, I don't think, any of these other companies we've been talking about, Chevy, Nissan, whatever, whoever, I don't think they were necessarily making bad cars at all. I think the car industry just got really comfortable doing what they were doing and weren't willing to take any risk or pushing any boundaries and not have particular fun. That's the thing. Well, I think the attitude is just so different at Tesla that it's just like, we'll put fart mode on a car. Why not?
Or like the Christmas Easter egg in the Model X, things like that. You know? It's just a different mindset when it comes to it, right? They want to make vehicles that are for maximum enjoyment. Yeah. And that's just rings so true. And I really do think, how it's illegal for like companies to get together and like, fix prices, like price gouging. Like, hey, if we all, price cars at this price, then people will just be forced to buy them because there's only 4 major automakers or something.
Right.
But for some reason they can do that with oil. So, but anyways, I think like automakers got very complacent because look, I'll add like the tiniest dumb little feature and just boom, headline marketing stuff, right? And Tesla came out like, why don't we have my phone, all the tech that's available in my phone today, just built into the car? But because it's a car, I can have a giant display and I can have all kinds of other things that are possible here. I think they really got that. And I think, so, I mean, we've talked about it before. BMW or Mercedes or any of these guys could copy this concept without even going electric. Like, I bet you if you had a 17-inch display that controlled every aspect of your car in an Audi, people would be stoked. People would not be going from Audis to Teslas. They'd be like, look, I love Audi. The interior is fantastic. It's still a regular car, so I don't have to worry about, like, electric stuff, all the fear that people have about going electric. You don't have any of that. But you get all the amazing tech stuff that Teslas have. I think they could totally do that. And succeed, but they don't. Like, it's just the dumbest thing.
Oh, yeah, it's yep. I mean, I think that's why a lot of people don't think of Tesla as a car company as so much as like a technology company,
Right, exactly. Now, the Elon also talked about everyone's favorite upcoming Tesla product, the new pickup truck. And he didn't really give out much details. There was a person there that loves and rides horses, and he had been kind of like taking a jab at horses earlier in the thing, so he apologized. He's like, hey, nothing against horses. It was just an analogy. But her question was funny. It was like, will the truck be able to tow as much as a horse?
Like, no, she said tow a horse. Like,
oh, I totally heard it wrong. I'm like,
like she would maybe have to move her horses around, and have to have those big trailers.
Got it. Yeah, that's an obvious answer. So he did repeat. I thought you said tow as much as a horse. He did repeat that the base model price will be under $50,000, and it will have as much towing capacity as a F-150. The way he put it was like, it'll have all the truck stuff that an F-150 has, and but it'll also beat your base Porsche 911 from a performance standpoint, which I don't doubt at all. So,
but here's what I don't get though. He made it sound like. Later, when the lady did ask him that, he goes, it should, he sounded more like, well, maybe, it should be able to do the, 3 or do whatever F-150 can do.
Yeah.
And the screen you're showing, towing capacity is 300,000 pounds. That's like 10 times more than the best F-150.
Well, it's kind of a weird thing. Like, so the screen I'm showing here, this is actually from a video. So this is the video I just posted yesterday, but this graphic is from a video I did a while ago about it. And all the details we had that basically Elon tweeted, because maybe a few months ago, I don't know how long ago, but he went on this kind of tweet storm about the truck. And I did a video about that, and then, whatever. So that's where these details come from. So take them with a grain of salt, right? Because they were just random tweets. This isn't like a spec sheet that they've put out officially. But he said range 400 to 500 miles, which is 644 to 805 3.5 kilometers.
Thank you.
Towing capacity of this. See, this is crazy to me. 300,000 pounds, or 136 tons. But I don't think that means what we think it means. Because like, let's say pulling so the challenge, so jackknifing is a thing, right? And jackknifing, the very little bit I know about it, this is when the back end of whatever you're towing is heavier than you are, and it gets away from you. So if, let's say, you're going downhill and it starts to go sideways, well, it's heavier than you are. It's just going to drag you along for the ride. There is no stopping it. So
and I think jackknifing is that moment when it actually like folds in half and the trailer runs into the vehicle that's being pulled, from the side almost too.
Yeah. So towing 300,000 pounds, I'm not sure what that means.
Like, so that's the thing is like a Toyota Tundra pulled the space shuttle across a bridge for, at 3 mile or at 1 mile an hour or whatever, 1.6 kilometers an hour. Like really slowly, vehicles can pull about anything really. So towing capacity. Then for him to kind of hoe and hum a little bit about it, like should be able to do whatever an F-150 can do, was a little bit confusing to me.
Yeah. So
this is like should be able to do whatever an F-350 can do,
Yeah, we can. I would say it's fair to assume that it'll do everything that the biggest heavy duty truck can do, commercial consumer version of that, right? Not like an actual tractor or something. Then on the so this wasn't in the earnings call, but he did just recently on the Ride the Lightning podcast, which. Fantastic. Definitely go listen to it. It was Ryan McCaffrey's interview with Elon. If you really want to dig into the Tesla stuff, he did, probably the best job someone could do on the Tesla side. He confirmed that this image, which we're looking at here of the truck, which they very too subtly showed at the Model Y unveiling.
We talked about this a little bit last week, I think.
Yeah, that this is the front of the vehicle. So now we have the actual image. So just recapping, if you go on YouTube, you'll see it, or if you're watching it, you got it. And then the other specs that we had, which I included in the video right here. This is all from tweets again. Is that it'll be a 6-seater, dual motor, all-wheel drive, and he said 250 volt connections in the bed. Sounds odd. I guess 240 is what I'm used to, but okay. And then it'll also have an air compressor. So he mentioned the truck, and so, and touched on it. So that's why I brought all this stuff up, because this is kind of like the latest that we know. And, we'll see kind of how. Now, I don't know how you'll get a 6-seater in a truck. That seems odd to me.
Well, a lot of full-size trucks still have like a bench seat across the front and then a bench seat across the back. So it is 6 seats. And oftentimes it's the center console will lift up and become a seat in the front.
Got it. So it's not like the Model Y seats, which are for infants in the very back.
For tiny, tiny, tiny people. I mean, who knows? They keep talking about like it's going to be this radical shift in what a truck is. Maybe they go with the semi layout where it's like one person in the front seat, two behind that, and then 3. It's like a pyramid scheme. Illuminati truck.
Oh, man. I don't know. That would be so weird. Because who would want to drive then?
Whoever's driving.
They would just be like, I don't want to drive. Like, I'm just sitting up there by myself. Actually, maybe like, my wife's not going to bug me. Great.
Well, the funny thing is, maybe that would be pretty isolating. But once the truck drives itself, who cares? You just sit in the back and hang out.
Yeah.
And how loud? Maybe it's a circle. Maybe the seating configuration is a circle with a table in the middle, and everyone can steer.
That would be, like those, we have those here in San Diego. It's you pedal. Have you seen it's a bar? Have you seen these?
Oh, yeah.
And there's like a bartender on there serving you drinks, and I think the bartender's steering and you pedal.
Yep.
It's terrible. Yep. Do not do that ever. It's like I'm going to work out while drinking. That's how it's as bad as it sounds.
Oh, well, I mean, who knows though? 6 seats. I can't see them doing a bench seat across the front though. Can you?
It seems weird. The design, that seems like an odd design, doesn't it?
It does. And it just doesn't sound very Tesla. I can see them doing like crazy cool, like, captain seats or bucket seats.
Yeah.
Like a normal, like an S or an X. And then where you're going to put the rest of the 4 people.
Right. I don't get it. Yeah. Unless it's like a super long cab.
And then you just do 2 and 2, or maybe the 2. sit
That'd be weird.
facing each other. And there's a whole, again, I'm going with the table. I want a table in a truck. If you give me a table in a truck, I'll take it. Table, truck, take. It's the triple T's. I'm very into that.
Oh, man. Well,
yeah.
I think you're wrong, but we shall see.
Hey, I've never been wrong, and you've never been right, especially when it comes to rockets rolling. Did I get trolled?
Let's hear it.
I just want to know, did I get trolled?
I think you did. By the way, did you know Keanu Reeves and Elon Reeves Musk are not related?
I did see that. Yeah. I should share this real quick. This was just funny. This is just a fun little bonus. So I've been working on this rocket roll video, and of course, I'm sitting here talking all about how, the Falcon 9 doesn't actually need to perform a roll maneuver. It does roll, obviously. It can roll, but it doesn't need to. It doesn't need to roll to just do a simple pitch down operation, because it can operate in 3D telemetry. It's something that I'm talking about in my upcoming video. But look, yesterday's launch, right out the freaking gates, it does this huge, dramatic, obvious roll.
Roll with
and
me.
I'm like, so on Twitter, I go, there's a big old programmed roll in today's Falcon 9 flight. This is in direct contradiction to what I thought happens with most Falcon 9 flights. And then I asked Elon, what's the reason for this roll when the Falcon 9 can navigate 3D and usually doesn't roll to align to its azimuth? And he responds, fun.
That's right.
That's the reason. And this is exactly what you said last week, I think. I go, well, what do you think the reason is? Is that what you said?
I said, because it's cool.
Dang it. So you were right?
I mean, if he's not just messing you, if he's not trolling you.
Oh, no, he definitely is trolling me. This is a $1.2 billion trio of satellites. They aren't going to put in a roll program for fun.
Rockets have just been far too serious for far too long. It's just how it is.
He just wanted to spice it up a little bit.
Did this one have fart mode?
I mean, basically continually out the back of it, yeah. Especially once they start running on methane, they literally will just run on fart mode.
Ludicrous fart mode.
So should we go on to why don't they just?
Oh yeah, do you have one?
I do. This one comes from Drew Bailey, and this is at DrewBay65652375. Because apparently probably Drew Bay 65652374 must have been taken. So, but this is, hey, hi Earth Day astronaut, got a why don't they just for you? Why don't they just bundle 5 Falcon 9s together, or maybe 7, and make a super heavy lift launch vehicle that would already be powerful enough to put Starship into orbit without needing super heavy? So do you know what he's saying, and do you?
I'm trying. I've got 5 pens here. I'm trying to
Oh, nice.
Demonstrate. So 5 seems like a weird number.
So 1 in the middle, and then 4 cores. So right now the Falcon Heavy is 3, right? So you could just add 2 more boosters and make it,
because you need
a plus sign.
I think you need more though, unless they're different.
So
sizes.
what about 7? Why not just 7? Stick 7 of those babies together.
All right, hold on. Let me see. I've got a couple more here.
I mean, it works. It'd just be a hexagon, and then with a little boop in the middle.
I'm trying to find pens that are all the same size. Okay, so we got 4 here. Okay, and then you put 3 more.
Here, I better turn this off just so we can really actually see your pen demonstration.
So I think that's actually, well, it's not focusing. Okay, yeah, I don't.
Wow, nice, and that's aero grade alignment job there.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Yeah, okay. So what's the point to put? What are we talking about again?
So the new Starship, right, is that upper stage, the big shiny part, and then the lower big stage booster, which is 31 engines, big massive booster that's needing to lift Starship into orbit.
Raptor engines on that one, right?
Raptor engines, yeah, baby.
The Star Hopper.
Star Hopper is just the test bed for the Starship and Starship Super Heavy booster.
Got it.
So basically, get rid of the Super Heavy. Why make a Super Heavy booster when you could just stick 7 Falcon 9 cores together?
Because the diameter of the payload, how would you do that? Because you would still just have the same diameter of a single Falcon 9, right?
Taper out at the on the top of the center core would have to be some dedicated center core that goes out to that 9 meters wide from 3.7 meters wide, And then the other boosters, it could kind of look like let me show you Saturn 1B.
Okay.
I think that's
okay. Great. Let me get a piece of paper. we're just gonna do this right now.
This is this is actually, believe it or not, this rocket has pretty much existed, and it was called the Saturn 1B. It is one of my favorite rockets, actually, just because it looks so. I'm trying to find a good picture.
Not like a Saturn V.
It's tested out. It's basically a demonstrator of some of the stages for a Saturn V. But here's the Saturn rockets. You had the Saturn 1B basically is this section. All of these rockets down here that have like this cool looking thing. For those of you listening, I apologize, but this is the Saturn 1B. And notice that it has a whole bunch of like little skinny cylinders.
Got you.
And then it goes to a much bigger one. Mm-hmm. This is the Saturn 1B. The first time people flew with the Apollo capsule was on a Saturn 1B like this. And that's kind of how they did the shakedown. And the upper stage was the same as the S4B. Upper stage was the same on as the Saturn V. It's a really cool rocket. And believe it or not, these tanks are literally Redstone tanks. These are Redstone rockets, like Redstone missile tanks, just kind of all stuck together.
What are all the like wings for?
Stability, to make sure the pointy end goes up, stays up, and the flamey end.
And
the funniest thing is, look, they launch
that?
it. They launch it. The crazy thing is, yes, they needed it. The craziest thing is they launched it at the same freaking tower as the Saturn V. But because it was so small, it needed this milk stool. Isn't that insane? So they literally, because it was so much shorter than a Saturn V,
how embarrassing.
Instead of lowering the tower, they lifted the Saturn 1B up to the height of where a Saturn V would be, so you can still use the same crew access arm.
I mean, it's like cute and endearing, but also kind of embarrassing. Like you're walking around. Was this NASA that did this?
Yeah, this is NASA.
So you're walking around NASA, right? And you're like, oh yeah, which one are you working on? Oh yeah, the 1B. like,
I don't think it was like that.
But yeah, sorry, bro. I'm Saturn V. Sorry, I can't. Like you got to sit at the little kid table when you're eating your lunch. You're not allowed.
It did need a booster seat. It definitely needed a booster seat.
Oh, man. That's good.
Yeah. Here we go. This is that milk stool.
Okay.
But this is a rocket where they literally took like a bundle of smaller rockets and stuck them together, right?
Yeah, so then, okay,
And
so back to the question.
This is what that would kind of look like.
Why do this versus, or why do the new thing, whatever, star something, with, instead of just, duct taping five Falcon 9s together? I would have to get, well, I mean, I think you're getting so much more with the new, is it called Starship or Star Heavy? Is that?
Well, Starship is kind of the whole vehicle. The Super Heavy is that booster.
Okay, well, I'll just say the Starship booster.
That works.
I feel like, because it's stainless steel, right? So I think you're getting, like, it's not just about, from my understanding, not just about like putting heavier stuff in space. Like if that was your only goal, this idea or something like it probably would be fine. But I think they're like reducing the cost dramatically and increasing reusability. It's lighter, all that kind of stuff. Right? You use a different fuel as well, and the engine is totally different. I mean, it just sounds like if you had one goal, then maybe that would work. But you have like 50 goals here or 50 things you're doing. Am I close?
Yeah, you're pretty much nailing it. Yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing really is that they're already totally at the limit of what one of these cores can handle. We've talked about this a bunch, where they've stretched this core to be so long, they physically can't really put much more stress through this core. If you're doing something like that, where you have more and more and more boosters, you're really not adding, like, the core can't handle that much more.
I mean, it's a whole new thing at that point, and if you're going to do a whole new thing.
They already regretted building the Falcon Heavy because it was way harder than they thought it was going to be. It ended up being such a big challenge. And it's one of those reasons, people are always like, why don't they just make it so the upper stage is reusable and stuff? Well, it takes a huge vehicle to put a big enough upper stage up there that can do all these things. And that's all the Super Heavy is. It's way easier to actually just build one giant rocket that has new engines that are more reusable, more efficient, more powerful, that, run on a cheaper fuel. This vehicle will be rapidly reusable. And, it really, honestly, in the scale of things, they're producing these things in a field. Like, they're easy to build. They're not.
Yeah.
It's easy. It's cheap. The boosters might be almost cheaper than a Falcon 9 anyway, or maybe cheaper than like building a Falcon Heavy.
Is that because of the materials they're using? Or
material costs are pretty cheap. Honestly, the Raptor engine isn't that much more expensive than a Merlin engine. Like inherently, it's all just metal.
Right.
Like just because it's more powerful and more complicated doesn't necessarily mean it's.
But what about the I don't know, fuselage, for lack of a better term, because it is stainless steel, right?
It is stainless steel. Yep, which is a cheaper material than aerospace. Aerograde aluminum is actually really expensive.
And I figure, if you're looking at the amount, maybe I'm wrong, but the amount of materials, like if you look at a sheet of material costs, like the fuselage, like metal, like housing, has to be close to the top, next to what, fuel or something like that?
Oh yeah, fuel.
What costs the most in
probably R&D.
Well, okay, but the physical cost of goods.
Yeah, the engines I think make up the vast majority of the cost of the vehicle.
Okay.
And the funny thing is, if you have 3 or 7 cores, I guarantee you actually have more metal than you would on one 9-meter core.
Right.
Because when you
there's a lot of redundancy.
When your volume goes up by cube, to your area of the amount of material goes up by square. It's a positive. It's a good net relationship between volumetric size of the tanks, and then it only goes up by the square. So you triple your fuel if you double your tank size, basically.
Right. It's like why
material.
You need a giant battery factory, because instead of having like a bunch of little factories, which have there is like a certain amount of fixed cost and overhead in everything you do. So if you have 7 rockets, they all have a bare minimum cost of a thing. Whereas if you just did one big one, you'll clearly save, on all that fixed cost, all that extra overhead.
Yes.
Right?
And separation events, when boosters separate and things, that's hard. All those forces not only have to be able to go into the center core first and then separate, and now you have to land 7 cores simultaneously, basically, or within like a minute of each other. Yeah. And
I just threw a bunch of pens up in the air. If you
where are those where are those cores gonna land? It's just really, at the end of the day, it's 10 times easier to just make one bigger rocket than it would be to try to stick 7 of them together and expect it to go well. And more efficient. This is a more efficient, newer, updated, gooder rocket.
More good and stuff. Make your rockets good.
Make your rockets good. Make them big and good.
Does SpaceX have like Google's was "Don't be evil," which clearly they failed at? Like, does SpaceX have like a, motto they live by or something like that? Like, yo, let's go to Mars or something.
I think they have. If you have kids listening, please earmuff them quick. They do have one motto. Ass. Acronyms seriously suck. That's the only motto I know. Besides make humans multiplanetary species is about the only other motto they have.
What's Everyday Astronaut's motto that he lives by?
Bringing space down to Earth for everyday people.
Mine more and more is just don't become Ty Lopez. It's just don't. But every day I'm tempted. Every day.
No, my new one is drink lots of sparkly water and too much coffee.
People were telling me that now, do you drink mineral water or just like carbonated CO2, like club soda?
Yeah, like club soda. Like a LaCroix. I'm like a LaCroix boy.
Ooh. I was just down in Mexico, and in America, water is just flat or still water is what you'd call it. Mm-hmm. But in, I don't know, many of the other countries I've been, they ask you, because sparkling water is kind of a thing. But it's weird because, like, if you go to Spain, you would ask for agua con gas, which is like club soda. It's agua with
with
CO2 in it or whatever.
Literally water with gas is literally what you're
Right. But if you go to Mexico and ask for that, they look at you weird, quizzically, or which is, I don't know how to say it in Spanish. But so in Mexico you ask agua mineral. So it's mineral water, which is sparkling water, but it also has like stuff in it.
Yeah.
And I was down there talking to having dinner with some folks, and they were saying, we read something about like if you drink too much of it, there's calcium in it, it'll like, be not good for you or something like that. But I was just like it seems weird to me. Like is there really a difference?
Right.
I don't know. See,
yeah. Is there?
We need the tangent cam for this conversation.
Oh, is that what your next video is going to be?
Yes. See, I would love to do videos on random things like that. Like, is khaki a color or a material?
No, is your next video the one about going to Mexico? Are you doing a video on that?
Yes. So, took the Tesla down. That was fun. Doing a whole video because I really, my whole thing is like trying to get people to go electric. And until someone else makes a car that's as good as a Tesla, that means buying a Tesla. So, one of the things is just using these vehicles to explore and see things. And so me and Jenny just went down to an area called Valle de Guadalupe, which is like Napa Valley wine country in Mexico. Cool. It's about 2 hours south of San Diego. So, people in Southern California, it's totally within reach. So we're just going to show kind of like what that experience is like and how to do it in a Tesla. That's not my next video,
alert,
but
is
that
there
is
a supercharger? Is there a supercharger when you cross the border then? I guess that's probably the biggest concern.
No, there's no supercharger, but there is there are destination chargers and lots of them. So,
cool.
And the thing is so when you go south of here, someone will, maybe if they know Mexico better than I do, but you go south of San Diego, you cross, like I'm 10 minutes from the border, right? And you go to Ensenada, which is like 2 hours, maybe, hour and 45, depending on traffic or anything. And then south of that, there is not much. So, and Ensenada is only like 80 miles or something, or like, 78 miles or something like that. So it's not that far. So even if you have like a 2013 Tesla Model S with 200 miles of range, you can easily make it there, stay there for a few hours, charge up, and make it back. It's totally doable, even in like a very low range Tesla. So, if you have a Model 3, for example, you don't even have to charge at all. You can go there and come back, no big deal. But if you do go down there, and I recommend you stay, at least for a few hours, grab some food or stay overnight. Plenty of places that have Tesla chargers. So,
that's cool.
No big deal. You just wake up fully charged in the morning.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I'm excited to hear about that. And we probably should have talked about this on the show because there's a big, was it EVgo or
Electrify America?
Yeah, we should have talked about that because they all of a sudden kind of dropped a nice like, hey, by the way, almost like all these Walmarts now are going to have these EVgo stations like really soon. Like they're rolling one out did you see they're doing one every 3 days?
Whoa.
They're opening a station once every 3 days. That's insane.
This is the ChargePoint and Electrify America partnership?
I think so. Maybe. We definitely should have talked about that because that was a pretty big deal, I think.
Yeah, ChargePoint has a number of similar partnerships with Blink and EVgo, which they already have. EV Box and Flow, et cetera, et cetera. That's cool. Yeah, I kind of wonder, though, how much of that, besides the DC fast chargers, which I know EVgo has, I believe, I don't. Maybe ChargePoint does too. So I did a video on this a while ago, basically about like if you can't install a charger at your home, what do you do? Because especially as people with Model 3s are more likely to not have a place where they can install it. I'll say. So what do you do? And I showed literally just within 5-6 miles of my house, you have Volta, which is a free charger. Have you seen those?
I've heard about them, but I don't really know what it is.
It's really cool. So it's just like a level 2 charger, and they're usually at grocery stores and things like that. And it has a big kind of box display like a Tesla supercharger, but in it it'll show an ad. So it'll have like an ad for the e-tron or something like that.
No way.
Yeah, and they had a really cool graphic someone sent me. I did take a picture of it last time I saw one. It was like Tesla like flying by a Ford or something like that. So anyways, so that's totally free. You just go there, plug in, and they have Google VC, whatever that is, Google Ventures or something is backing them. And those guys are just crushing it right now. But if you hate ads, then hey, maybe you choose not to do that, and you'll choose to go pay. So your pay options: there's ChargePoint, which has tons and tons of stations. Blink in San Diego kind of died. I've seen a lot of those ripped out and replaced with ChargePoint stations, all level 2. And then EVgo is the only one I've seen that has level 3 charging versus with the CHAdeMO or CCS adapter, which I think Tesla just announced recently that they're gonna either offer or either they already are, or they're offering soon these like level 3 high-speed adapters for non-Tesla charger plugs, right? Kind of like from the CCS or whatever to the Tesla one. So those kind of things. That's cool, but I do wonder like how important is level 2 charging versus level 3 charging? Because if you're on a road trip,
I think that was what these were, though, is a big old fat level 3, like 250 kilowatt hour.
Oh, yeah. Now that I'm into.
Charging stations. And who was it? I can't believe I forgot to put this in the show notes. I even had a link pulled up that I feel like I sent it to you guys. Apparently, I just failed all around. But I thought it was Walmart.
We'll blame
charging
Joe.
stations. Yeah. This is welcome to Watch Tim and Ben
Google for things. No, so that's cool. If they're level 3, I'm down. I think that makes a lot of sense. Like I think ChargePoint a while ago announced something like 2.5 million level 2 chargers, across North America, and I'm like, cool, but do we need 2.5 million level 2 chargers? I mean, unless
here we go. Yeah, you're right. Level 2 would make sense when you're shopping somewhere. Sure. But for road trips, no.
I mean, yeah, fine. But look at
this.
So what's your...
Look at this. 350 kilowatt stations.
Right. This is the one that they demonstrated, right? I think someone took a Model 3 there recently. And it.
Yeah. But they've 120 sites already installed. 180 more will be added before the end of the year.
Awesome.
That's huge.
Okay, hold on. With every installation site equipped with regular 150 kilowatt stations... That's not regular.
Which is,
as well as ultra-fast 350. Okay. Who wrote this article? This person does not know what they're talking about.
No, this is what I have read from multiple things. Was that these new EV,
got you.
That this is great.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. But Alyssa Walker, the author, we need to talk. Like we need to go watch some of my videos that explain this. 150 kilowatts is the Tesla supercharger. And it's the Tesla supercharger after the most recent software update. So that is not
just
normal.
Because she said the word regular.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is 150 kilowatts is ultra fast. So maybe that's a small detail there, but let's not set that precedent that oh yeah, that's normal.
That 150 isn't.
That is awesome. That is incredibly fast.
That is very, very awesome.
Yeah. 350 is, I don't think any car except for a test
Porsche.
vehicle, a prototype vehicle that they made, can actually accept 350 right now. But awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's huge. That will help. Even if anything, here we go. Only the Porsche Taycan,
right,
or Porsche, however you want to say it.
In theory.
Taycan. That's just even public perception, just knowing, there's actually a really fast charger nearby me, and because that's the thing, people are like, well, where do you charge at? That's always the number one question. Well, first at home.
Yeah.
Number 2, if I'm going on a road trip, on my way to the place I'm going, I don't need one here.
Yeah. Destination charging. Yeah. I gave a talk at San Diego EV Auto Association a while ago, and it was really cool. I'd never been before, but apparently there were a lot of people that like this was brand new. They're wanting to learn about EVs. They're like, what are these mysterious things? Who are you guys? And someone was like, why doesn't Tesla just partner with hotels and install chargers at all these hotels? Yeah. They've got thousands of those. That's what they do. That's exactly what they did. He's like, okay, good. I'm glad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
No, so okay,
yeah.
So yeah, that's great news then. Yeah, because I think all of this is great, right? But when ChargePoint announced that 2.5 million level 2 chargers, I'm like, okay, can we do level 3? Because that's the one we really need.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. And that's great.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's level 3, and I guess you could call 350 kilowatts level 4.
I think anything over, if you're getting 1,000 miles a range in, per minute or whatever it is,
hour,
not 1,000 per minute per hour. Yeah. I think that should be considered like level 4.
So Elon did talk about that at the annual shareholders meeting as well, that they're now like done with version 3 of Supercharger, like what they showed before was beta testing, and now it's like ready, and so they're going to start rolling that out pretty aggressively, which is still less than that 350. It's 250, but I mean, I don't know if that like we're hitting the point where like we're good, like if you can do 250, that's amazing. If you can do 350, you're close to being on par with gas cars. So
gasoline, it's true.
Yeah,
that's fun.
So what's your next video?
Well, like I said earlier, I'm kind of still working on that roll. I shot the roll video, edited halfway through the roll video, and then found out a whole bunch of things that I forgot. So I'm going to have to shoot in a few more things.
Oh, no. It's going to become the Raptor video again.
No. This is supposed to be way easier, even though it's a 20-minute long video, of course.
Yeah.
But, it's a lot easier, and I should have it. I wanted to have it out by like tomorrow or Saturday. So
okay.
And the whole Texas thing keeps getting delayed, so who knows, when that's gonna happen. So maybe I'll get 2 videos out. I really want to have one about aerospikes too. I keep getting people asking me about those all the time.
Did you say aerospike?
Yep.
What is that?
It's a type of nozzle. People often say aerospike engines, but really, pedantically, we should talk about it's just really a nozzle. So instead of having like a bell at the end of your engine,
right.
It's basically inverted and it goes this way, and the exhaust gas pushes in on it, so that when it's in space, it's supposed to be more, it's supposed to be more efficient throughout the entire ascent. But none has ever been used, but they've been tested since, and pretty much done testing since the 60s, so it's not some like, so there's a good reason why they don't use them, and that's what I really want to get.
It's like a propeller versus an impeller. Like they're kind of the same thing, but they work differently, and they have different reasons why you do them. So,
yeah. So that's fun. Hopefully, so next week we should have a Joe with us again.
Yay!
We reached out to some people, by the way, guys, to try to get a number 3. Everyone wants Scott Manley. Like that's the number one thing, and
only if he's drunk.
I love that. Ben goes, if you think we're about to have someone demonstrably smarter than us on the show, you don't know us very well.
That was Joe, yeah.
That was hilarious.
We could do a Joe Rogan style and just like get super high and drunk when we're...
You in the state where it's legal can partake in the recreation of that.
See, I forget. Yeah. It's funny too. I really need to be aware of that because I'm like, I'm going to Mexico. Yep, very illegal, and don't do that. Like, do not take drugs to Mexico.
Oh yeah, that seems backwards. Smuggling drugs the other way.
Yeah. But it gets pretty. I think people just in California get pretty casual about it now that it's been legal for a while. So it's funny how marijuana goes legal in California. Like the lead up to it, years and years and years of like all this stuff, and then it's like it's here, and then everyone's like, oh, cool. All right, like it's like
if you're against it, like it didn't change anything about my life at all.
Right. Like basically, like I bet if you surveyed just people walking around the street, like half of them wouldn't even know.
Yeah,
it's funny how it like
darn,
made no
new
difference.
Tax revenue. Shoot.
Darn it. Hopefully the tax revenue is good. Yeah. Anyways, cool, man. Well, I think that's it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you in our ludicrous future.